Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sharing Alumni Advice Wednesdays with SAA. Tonight is our sports media and entertainment event. And to kick things off, we do want to acknowledge that we are coming from all different parts of the world in different time zones. So the Student Alumni Association thanks everyone for coming tonight. We want this to be conversational. So Aaliyah is going to advance our slide to instruct on how to use the raise your hand feature. So as the slide here kind of shows you, if you click on the participants button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you should be able to, in the box that pops up to the right, select raise hand. That will signal one of our teammates to get your question. If you do feel comfortable asking your question, we'll cue you in to unmute yourself and ask that question to our panelists. If you don't, however, just put it in the chat and let us know that you don't feel comfortable doing that, and the chat will just go to Aaliyah, and so you can just direct the chat just to her in that feature, and she will ask that question for you. All right, so to begin, I'm going to introduce myself and my fellow UMass Amherst team. My name is McKenna Meager. I'm the Vice President of the Student Alumni, Vice President of Training Development in the Student Alumni Association. And my fellow team member, Aaliyah, is also in the Student Alumni Association. Aaliyah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, awesome. So hello, everybody. My name is Aaliyah. I'm class of 2021. So I'm a senior now. I'm also part of the alumni, of the Student Alumni Association. I hold the cabinet position as the Alumni Relations Coordinator. So McKenna and I kind of work together to kind of put these events on for you guys as well, which is really awesome. And then we have Lindsay as well.
Yes, for sure. And next, we're going to introduce our panelists. Tonight, we're very lucky to have 4 UMass Amherst alumni. The first being Chris Stark. Chris, do you want to introduce yourself?
Great, thank you. And thank you all for hosting us tonight and including us in this panel. As McKenna mentioned, my name is Chris Stark. I graduated from UMass with an undergraduate degree from sport management from Eisenberg back in 2005. And then I have my MBA from Eisenberg. I graduated back in May. And for the last 16 years, I worked for the New England Patriots and New England Revolution out of Gillette Stadium. And I currently lead our corporate partnerships team and I work with all of our existing sponsors on their business around the football and soccer entities at the stadium.
Thank you, Chris. Our next panelist is Rubina Serenyan. Rubina, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi. Nice to meet everybody. Thank you all for being here. My name is Rubina Serenyan. I'm a 1994 graduate of UMass. I majored in communications and I am currently working for a startup in Boston. I'm actually based in Los Angeles, but I'm working for a startup headquartered in Boston called True Tickets, and I am the head of customer success for them. And we are a secure digital contactless ticket delivery solution. And I have over about 20 years in entertainment, particularly in live entertainment, having worked at Ticketmaster and Live Nation for the bulk of my career.
Thank you, Rubina. Our third panelist is Iran Lobel. Iran, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, thank you. Iran Lobel, I graduated in '89 with a communications major and an economics minor. I did my MBA at BU. And I've been in the video content business since '98 when I started my company Element Productions. And we produce TV commercials, TV shows, documentaries, and a ton of social and digital content. And, we've been partners with the Celtics for the last 14 seasons, producing their VOD content, video on demand content. And we work with agencies and brands producing video, and we've done a lot of work in kind of the sports space.
Thank you, Iran. And our fourth panelist is Shannon Barrett. Do you want to introduce yourself, Shannon?
Yeah, I'm Shannon. I graduated with a bachelor's in journalism and political science in 2016. Right now, I work with Fox Sports in Los Angeles, specifically with the NFL studio shows. So NFL Thursday, kickoff, and Sunday. And I also work with NASCAR and the MLB shows in our off seasons. And yeah, I was an anchor and reporter in Oregon before that. So different experiences in the industry.
All right. Thank you so much for that introduction, Shannon and everyone. Aaliyah is going to unshare the screen now so everyone can kind of see everyone on the screen. And we're going to kick it off with a question that we have. But then after that, we're going to allow attendees to ask their questions. So as we already went over, you can use the raise hand feature or the chat. So first, and this is open to whoever would like to take the floor first, how has COVID-19 impacted your job experience, if you're in the same job as you were at the beginning of this pandemic, or if you've changed jobs, if you'd like to share a little bit about that?
So I actually started with True Tickets in the middle of February. So just as, you know, things were starting to begin with COVID. And as, you know, the live entertainment industry has been decimated, you know, so it's actually there, you know, even though, you know, Chris can speak to sports and, you know, even, you know, Shimon too, but there are events that are happening, but in terms of performing arts, you know, Broadway, concerts, live music, all of that has essentially crashed and burned. And, you know, it's going to be a while, probably, you know, a year and a half before live events really start in the music sector specifically, and performing arts comes back. But I did begin my my role at the beginning of, or the middle of February rather, and we actually have taken this time where, with no events happening, to really fine tune our product and the technology, and that actually now, you know, it's going to come out bigger and stronger. And a lot of our venue clients have actually, before this was what we are offering, the solution, the SaaS technology that we're offering would have been a, you know, nice to have, has now truly become a must have with COVID, because we are built on a data management system, blockchain. So it's about data management. It's about really knowing who is in the venue at any given time. So it's actually really helped us, where we're taking this very, you know, negative and you know, unfortunate series of events and, you know, world economic change, to actually put something forward that venues will need and will want to have in the coming months and years ahead.
Yeah, so the change that we saw in our business was production really kind of fell off a cliff in March. People couldn't be together. You couldn't have crews. You couldn't have events, as Rubini was saying. And, you know, our production business really kind of slowed way down. We evolved. Our pivot strategy was virtual events. And so one of our first virtual events was the UMass graduation celebration, which I don't know if any of you saw, but was a lot of fun. We had a lot of celebrities be willing to give shout outs. We had the band, we had Swami. Chris helped us with the Patriots and Kraft and some of the players. So we put on a fun show. We also have been producing a lot of content remotely, meaning we will send a camera kit to talent and have them record, and we direct them from Zoom, or we will direct them through Zoom. So we've gotten into the event space because the event space has gotten into the TV programming space. So we create shows. I mean, we're doing galas and fundraisers and turning them into half-hour shows like Saturday Night Live type programming, where it's segments and stories. And it's been a lot of fun. Last night we broadcast Alzheimer's Foundation. We've done stuff for City Year, for Home for Little Wanderers, working on Crohn's Foundation and Salvation Army. So we've got a lot of really fun nonprofit events, and we do a couple for corporations as well. So production has changed for sure.
Thank you both for sharing that experience. Definitely unique a unique experience to each of you, but both very, very pivotal with what's going on. Shannon or Chris, did you want to chime in on this one?
Yeah, I can go next. Yeah, it's for us, we still haven't figured it out, in the sense of, I think we're in this calendar year where, for us, COVID hit right when our soccer season started. So Major League Soccer was 3 weeks in, and so that season started and then paused. And I think, taking a step back, every professional sports league experiences this differently, right? Major League Soccer started and paused. Major League Baseball never started right away, and everyone was a little bit different. Soccer then went to a bubble system and did that in Orlando in July. And then football has, we said for the first couple of months, football's 6 months away. We'll be fine. No worries. Football will be unimpacted. Everyone loves football. And it is October 14th, and we have played football games in front of no fans. And if anyone is a Patriots fan, which I'd hope within this group, that we've had games changed. We were supposed to have a game last week, and all of a sudden we got an email saying that this is bye week, which was supposed to be this coming week. So it has truly been different, and we don't know what to expect. Specific to our job function and what I do, we have about 80 corporate partners, and we've had to reimagine all of our relationships with those partners. And some have been heavily impacted because a lot of their partnership around us centers around game days or fans in the stands. And then, partners who have been really impacted based on the industry or their company in general. And then we've had a lot of partners that have been less impacted. And I think the work that Aran does and Shannon in terms of broadcast and production, we've leaned heavily on those areas. We have production folks in-house, and a lot of Patriots content we're still producing, and it's more important than ever because fans want to know what's going on. They still are sports fans. They just can't go to a game right now, but they still want to follow the team. They still want to know what's going on from a football and soccer standpoint. The teams are so competitive. There's still a season and a championship to win. And people still have their fantasy teams, right? And they want to know who to start this week and what's going on. So content has become more important. It's always been important, but from our standpoint, in terms of what we're able to deliver and execute this year, it's become more important than really anything else. So we've leaned on our internal Shannons and Neurons to help us, deliver content and then brand that with partners so that we're able to still help tell a story for our partners to our fans. And we're going to continue to do that, and hope the season continues, to February and see where that takes us.
Yeah, here at Fox Sports, I would say kind of what I do in my job, one part of it is helping to produce the stories that air in all of our studio shows throughout the week. And the other job is what I do on the stage with talent on those show days. So in terms of doing stuff with talent, that has completely changed. I'm COVID tested multiple times a week on the lot so that we can come into as close as possible contact while trying to be as safe as possible. When I'm planning the shoots that we're doing, which we still are doing now, I'm getting every single crew member COVID tested. I'm hiring a COVID compliance officer to be on set. So there's a lot more that we have to do because of this to keep everyone safe. And when it comes to football being rearranged, we go from usually having 4 shows in a week to our Thursday night football show getting pushed back a week. So now I'm going to be working on 5 shows this upcoming week. So it's kind of fluctuating with the workflow with what can happen and what can't. And it's really out of our control at this point.
Thank you all for sharing. Personally, thank you very much for adapting with the times, because you've kept my quarantined household entertained during all of this. So I applaud you, as I'm sure many of the attendees here do, because if it weren't for you, I think we'd all be losing it. Aaliyah does have a couple questions from the audience. Aaliyah, feel free to cue people in.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, we have one main question from the chat from somebody who's actually going to unmute themselves and just ask you guys directly. But I will have Chris, you can go ahead and answer this question first when it's asked. So Mighty, you can go ahead and unmute yourself whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Mike Bird Instaville, but you can all call me Mighty for short. And my question for all of you is, what do you all love the most about your jobs?
It's a good question. I think this year kind of highlights what I've loved most. I love the uniqueness that every single year has brought to my career. And if I had to think about the layers of that, you know, every season is different, right? Every football season is different. Every soccer season is different. And the storylines of those seasons, and then how long that season goes and how it ends, you know, is different. And while we've been really happy with how most football season ends, we've been really spoiled with that. There's still that uncertainty and uniqueness of those years. And you add a layer of then our corporate partners, and every year our partners have pushed us and done more with the organization, and their businesses have evolved. You think of the things that 10 years ago we didn't do, and now that are important and staples of our partnerships. And I think what Oran and I do is very comparable. You think of the content that they produced that 15 years ago was predominantly TV, and now there's a lot of digital social content that's being produced in short form content. And so for us, we've really evolved with how fans have consumed content, and our partnerships have evolved with that. And then our business is growing. For those of you who are from Massachusetts, Patriot Place didn't exist 15 years ago, and the stadium has really evolved. Last year we were the second busiest outdoor venue in the country and third busiest in the world. And that is not just from football and soccer, it's all the other events, which we're not hosting this year, but we will go back to hosting next year. So for me, I enjoy how each year is truly unique, and we're not doing the same thing every day.
I mean, I would second that. That's exactly what I love about the career path that I took. It's just every Sunday I start a new business. I have new clients. I don't literally start a new business. I have my company, but I have new clients and new experiences and new opportunities, and I'm always learning. And that's definitely a big part of what I love about my day-to-day.
I think for me, I've really enjoyed being able to travel and have really close access to putting out national content, which has been really cool. So I went to the Super Bowl in February, and I got to be on the field helping to produce the halftime show, the commentary from our talent during the Super Bowl, which was so cool. So it's just being able to, again, travel for me. That's my favorite part so far, but I'm pretty new into this career, so we'll see how that changes.
So Shannon, that was probably with a good friend of mine, PT Navarro.
I am his PA.
Wow.
So he was one of my business partners for in 2007. He's a great guy. That's hilarious.
I'm working with him really heavily during this football season. So
tell him that Iran says hello.
I will.
But that's, by the way, one of the things that the folks that are on this call, I think, is really important. It's networking. And, I think some of the best experiences that I've had come from UMass Network. UMass Network is unbelievable. It's people that are doing great things all over the country. PT is not UMass, but he's got the spirit. And clearly he hired a UMass alumni, so that's awesome.
He's got good taste for sure.
Yeah.
And for anyone that didn't pick up on this, Iran is on the East Coast and Shannon's on the West Coast. So just to give you sort of a span of that connection.
And we've never met. We met tonight, and we already have a good, close mutual connection.
Love a small town UMass connection for sure. Anyone else that wanted to add on to that question, Rubina?
Sure. So, I think, sort of fell into live entertainment, but and particularly on the ticketing side of the business, so different from the other panelists. But it is absolutely, for me, ever since I was a kid, it's just when the lights are going down in a theater, you know, you're waiting for the curtains to part for a Broadway show, or you're at a show and you're waiting for the lights to dim because your favorite artist is on stage and about to perform. That is what has been in me ever since, you know, I was a kid. So sort of going full circle and falling into the back, you know, behind the scenes of actually producing an event and how you all are getting your tickets to go to that show. There's a crew of people that's putting that all together that people don't really understand. That is just, oh yeah, go and put the tickets up on sale. So for me, I love the fact that every day is completely different, and that I would have calls with a sports client to a venue client to performing arts and Broadway to a family show. And this would all encompass in, you know, an hour. I'd have these different calls with different clients about talking about what their strategy was, what their marketing plans were, and how they needed to, you know, promote some sort of special offer to get butts in seats. So it's very much been a passion of mine, and something that I really hope and am eager that we can all return to live soon. But yeah, for me, it's always been just the unknown of what the day is going to bring, and how whatever this issues are, problems that the client is facing, that I am representing a product or a solution that's going to help them get to the finish line and solve that problem.
Thank you so much, all of you. Thank you.
Mighty, that answered your question.
It did. I'm satisfied. Thank you all so much.
Definitely got some different perspectives in the room, which makes that question quite interesting. Aaliyah, do you have another one coming in?
I definitely do. The conversation is just going right now. So I have another student, James, who's actually going to unmute himself and ask another question. And I'll send this directly to Rubina to ask to answer first. And then whoever else wants to chime in, please do so. So go ahead, James, whenever you're ready.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's James. I'm a freshman at UMass Amherst. I guess you could say my question is more geared toward Chris, but I'd love to hear from everybody because I'm a sport management major as well. And I was just really wondering, when you were in your earlier years at UMass, how you sort of got your start into the work world and what you really did in order to reach out and find internships.
I'll start. I mean, I started at UMass. I was a psychology major. I wanted to be a lawyer. So that was my initial plan. After 2 weeks of being on campus, I saw a sign about WMUA, and it just said, "Hey, you, do you want to be on the radio?" And I looked at that sign in the Student Union Ballroom and I said, yes, I want to be on the radio. So I went and I became, a part of the radio station. And at that point, I ended up changing my major to communications, and that just sort of created, it spawned my, career. But I started in radio, I worked in newsprint, and then ended up doing sponsorship work that eventually led me to Ticketmaster and then Live Nation and now True Tickets. So it all kind of built upon itself, but I very much took control of it. Sort of any opportunity that came to me, I sort of, got involved in and really, dug my teeth into WMUA. I knew that the fastest way to get on air was to either be a newscaster or a sportscaster. So I became a sportscaster. And I started, doing the news or the sports, doing color commentary on a bunch of games, and then just kind of growing from there, and just sort of worked my way up to be the program director of the station in my senior year. So my recommendation is just anything that really interests you to sort of dive into and start doing. Listen to your heart, and whatever kind of opportunity, if somebody asks you to do something, if you think that's gonna help you, you're gonna gain something from it, I would participate in and start working on setting up your internships every summer. just to gain more and more experience, because a lot of what we end up doing is it's a lot of who you know and what you know too. And if you know your way around a studio or a broadcast studio or what have you, a box office, for example, that all will help you in the future.
Yeah, I think to add to that, my advice is really identical. My story is the same. It's just a little bit different. I like you went to UMass as a sport management major my freshman year and had no idea what I wanted to do other than I knew I just wanted to work in sport. Like Rubina, I saw an opportunity my freshman year to go work for UMass athletic marketing. And I think one of the values of UMass is, and Ron talked about this, the network externally is going to help you open doors, but I think there's a lot of opportunities on campus that are awesome for freshmen, sophomores, and I'd say even juniors and seniors, but especially if you're on campus, and all of you guys will be back on campus soon. But there's a lot more opportunities being a Division I school on campus that you can take advantage of to start building that experience. So I got an opportunity to work in athletic marketing. I had no idea what that meant, but I knew they were going to pay me to work at game days. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. I got free dinner and I got, I want to say it was $6 an hour, and they're going to pay me to go to a basketball game and a hockey game and a football game. And I thought, well, shit, I was already going to go to those things. So now you're going to give me money to go. That's awesome. So I think I learned a lot. And I think, it's from there that I kind of narrowed down that sales and marketing and sponsorship is what I wanted to work on. And then I was able to then kind of tailor my courses and my future internships in that area. But no different than Rubina seeing a sign saying, hey, yes, I think that'd be fun. I want to do that. I think those examples, those experiences are available as freshmen and are available at UMass, and something that no one tells you should go do it. You need to respond, and you need to kind of take it upon yourself and be self-motivated to have that experience and to take advantage of the opportunity. But they're there, and I think those are the things that, sport management's UMass is the #1 sport management program in the country. And you can benefit from having a Division I athletics program, and you can gain a lot of experience. And I'll say again, I loved what Rubina said, because, when she talks about working at a box office and all these different things, when we interview students at the stadium who want to come and work for us, and we talk about, have you ever worked a game day before? And students are able to talk about working a UMass basketball game and a UMass football game, and those same headaches that you guys deal with working at those events, we have, right? We can't call Shannon and say, hey, listen, I know the game's going to start at 8:25, but can we push it back to 8:29? We're not organized on our end. We need 4 more minutes. That it doesn't happen, right? You don't go to Fox and have Troy Aikman say, hey, they're a little unorganized in the ticket office and on the field, so we're going to start this game a little bit later. So those pressures, those game day moments, those, that being able to put out those fires and deal with those experiences, those customer service issues, you can do that at UMass, and those are translatable experiences to what we do. So I think those are all great things that you can do on campus, and I would encourage all of you guys to find those opportunities to help build out what you want to do as you kind of continue through your 4 years.
I would also say that you can see if you can find some upperclassmen in your major that have been doing internships nearby. That's how I found out that a lot of broadcast majors were doing internships with Western Mass News, the ABC affiliate. So I reached out through our contact that a lot of the students were working with, who was a professor. I don't think he is anymore. And I got an internship there my sophomore year. So I would just also ask around and see what other people are doing for internships, but make sure you're looking for them in advance, because, for example, a lot of internships for the fall will hire them in the summer, in the early summer, or for the spring, they'll be hiring internships in the late fall. So you don't want to wait till that semester to find it. You'll need to be looking a few months in advance.
I would go so far as 6 to 8 months in advance. Most of our prior to COVID happening, our internship program filled up sometimes 2 semesters in advance. And it was, and in many ways, if you think about it, from a company standpoint, we want the most ambitious, driven kids. Those are the ones that are going to be the first to look for an internship. We don't want the ones that are last minute. Hey, you know, I know starts next week, but do you happen to have an internship available? You know, the good ones are never going to be available last minute, unless you get lucky and do a custom independent study, which is what I've recommended people to do through COVID. Is, you know, all internships have been killed, and there's a lot of schools in the Boston area that rely on internships and co-ops, and all of that got eliminated. So you've got to tap into your network and say, can I do an independent study, an apprenticeship? Can I be an assistant? Can I do research for you? Can I do social media for you? Whatever skills or passions you have that you can offer a company, try to offer for free right now until, I think when you guys graduate, you'll be fine. There'll be plenty of jobs, but until then, you know, I'm sure a lot of you this summer just couldn't do an internship, and that's the reality that we're all dealing with. But, you know, you got to find a different path. If the traditional path is not available, make something happen for yourself. It's kind of like getting a class at UMass, right?
I will say that at Fox Sports, our internship program has turned virtual. So we do have interns that are doing virtual internships now.
That's awesome.
And James, I might add in, if you've never heard of Connect-UMass, I highly recommend making an account, because it's kind of like LinkedIn, but only for UMass alumni. And that's a great way. A lot of us in SAA have tapped into UMass people, and a lot of times that connection can get you a good foundation and a good conversation starter to get hired for something. So if you haven't signed up for that, it's brand new. So the people that are on there right now are definitely committed alumni that want to talk to students. So if you haven't, definitely check that out. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but that's a good place to throw that in if you guys haven't checked that out. Aaliyah, anything else going on in there?
Of course, guys, I'm telling you, you got these students riled up. We have one more person, Anne, you can go on ahead and unmute yourself and ask your question. And this is open to whichever panelist would like to answer first.
Hi, my name is Annie. I was just wondering if there is anything differently you would have done in your academic career at UMass.
Great question, Annie. Who wants to take it? Rubina looks like she's ready to take it.
Not really. I mean, I think that I would have done differently. You know, any opportunity, all I can say is really just any opportunity that I learned about in entertainment, from radio to film festivals to other things, I just tried to jump in on and offer, you know, support and help and just kind of get out there. I don't know. Maybe I would have done some sort of like international, like one semester abroad, but you know, I don't know. I haven't. I think I'm pretty happy with the 4 years that I was there.
So to add to that, mine's always been, I wish I went abroad. I wish I went abroad for one semester. And I think, you know, as a sport management major, I could have gone and done an internship with you know, an English soccer team, right? Or some professional team in Europe, and been able to apply that to my resume and also see the world. So I think that would be the one thing I'd go back and change.
Funny enough, that would also be mine, because I ended up not going abroad because I wanted to run for student government president, and that was a full year commitment, and I did run and I did get it, which is fantastic, but I didn't go abroad because I wanted that leadership position. So if that was something, I don't know if I would have changed that because I really enjoyed that position. But if I could add on another semester, I guess I would have gone abroad.
I went to London for this semester. I got very lucky. Best semester of my life.
Way to rub it in.
I'm just,
all the students that can't travel abroad right now, Iran.
no, it's tough. I mean, to me, I think traveling abroad, my parents, were immigrants and grew up kind of with international life, but just because of the way we traveled and it was important to them. But I actually think if you can even travel the US, I think there's as much, if not more, to do in this country than there is overseas. And, that may be a post-COVID world where international travel might be less, although people are still pushing for that, but there could be exchange programs or in other cities, or that's something that I believe in the education space is an important, it's just a different culture, and experiencing. One thing that I loved about UMass, I loved a lot of things, but UMass for me was very diverse and gave me a really nice, diverse experience. And going to London did that too. So it was just a different diverse, right? So I think you could do that in the South. If you've ever been to the South, or even if you go to California. I know some schools do. It's just a big difference for those of you, for Rubina and Shannon, it's just a different world. So doing a semester, I know that we've had internships from Emerson, for example, and the kids go to LA for a semester, and it's a great semester. So I think that a big change, but then again, COVID has been such a big change for everybody. The fact that you guys have survived the last 6 months, you may be the next greatest generation. So, that's something to think about. Big changes.
Yeah, for sure.
And being resilient.
Annie, it looks like you're going abroad.
Hopefully I'll be able to.
Fingers crossed for that one. Aaliyah, anything up?
Of course I do. We have another student that's going to go ahead and unmute themselves. Again, a question for anybody. It's open up. So Seamus, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Seamus. I'm a senior right now. I'm a comm major. I've done like WMUA and UMass Sportsnet, so that's kind of made me want to do like broadcast production maybe after I graduate, hopefully, but I don't actually know like where to start with that when I'm looking with jobs, like entry level stuff. Most of the job postings I see, it's like 2 to 3 years of experience. So I was wondering like where should I try to look to start, and when I like reach out to a recruiter or apply for a job, what skills or what experiences should I be looking to highlight to try to make myself stand out?
So I worked in local news for the first 2 years after UMass, and all of those jobs said 2 years of experience, but they only hired people straight out of school. So I will say that in local news, which I know there is a lot of different local news stations in the top 200 markets that are in New England, if you wanted to stay there, or across the country, there are tons. And they'll hire people straight out of school all the time. I think you just have to decide if you're willing to move to a small town, a small market to start there, or if you want to move to a big city. And those are two different experiences in terms of doing that broadcast operations. I think it's definitely easier to get hired in a smaller town, a smaller market than a larger market. The larger markets require connections and kind of knowing someone to get your foot in the door. But I would say a lot of the skills I had at UMass that showed I was scrappy, that I took initiative, that I didn't wait for things to happen, that I asked questions and I was proactive. Stuff like that was really attractive to people hiring me. So I would say that that's been my experience, and I've been in 2 technically entry-level jobs in the last 4 years, and both of them just wanted someone that was really scrappy and willing to figure stuff out without too much hand-holding.
I agree with that. I think, you know, in a smaller market, you're actually going to get more experience than you would in a larger market. They're going to give you more, they're going to give you more responsibility, and then you can really showcase your talents and be like, look, yeah, anything that comes your way, absolutely, bring it on. Don't say no. You know, I'm somebody personally, I learn by doing, and I think that's, you know, happens for a lot of people too. So in every single one of my jobs, it's been, you know, I've been thrown into the fire, and I figure it out, I make it happen, and it looks like, you know, I had been doing this for years. But my first job right out of UMass was working at, I mean, it's now a defunct newspaper group, but it was the Phoenix Media Communications Group, and they owned the Boston Phoenix newspaper, and they owned WFNX. So I started working at WFNX in promotions. I was, you know, it was actually an internship that I had during winter session in my senior year, and they ended up hiring me the following fall in a part-time position because they thought I did such a great job for them in that 1 month. I was, you know, whatever they needed, I just went around and I did it. So they created a job for me. And then that sort of developed. Then I got a promotion and started working at the Boston Phoenix newspaper. And it was in promotions. I never took a marketing class in my life. But I understood marketing, I knew promotion, I knew what advertisers wanted. And so I was able to kind of go in and just make the banners look right, get the hospitality suite in order, whatever they needed, guest lists. I was on top of my work, I was conscientious, and they knew that I was somebody that they could trust and I could do my work. So that really it comes down to, I think, just, you know, being able to put yourself in a place that you can showcase your skills.
Rubina, I have a question for you. Did you work with Mike Bornhorst or Brian Appel?
Brian's name is very familiar. I think I did at the Phoenix.
At the Phoenix.
Yes.
So Brian worked at the Phoenix, and then he went, when the Phoenix shut down, he went and started his own company called Boston Calling, which is the big concert
Music festival.
Music festivals, and he's done a couple. He's a UMass alumni who came from the Phoenix.
Yeah. And the one thing that I will just mention briefly, I mean, my internship at WFNX, my boss ended up, this is, you know, pre-LinkedIn. I still I kept in touch with her. And she was working at Ticketmaster in New England. I was looking to move to New York. So 5 years after college, I, you know, hit up my old boss from the internship that she eventually became my boss when I was hired full time. She helped me get the job and sort of kind of launch my, you know, ticketing career. So it was, you know, I was able to keep in touch with this person, and she always knew again that I was somebody that she could trust, and I was, you know, I could get the work done. So that really helped me in my future, you know, profession.
The only thing I'd add to any of this, I agree with all this advice. I think we could probably all agree that those of us on the panel, a lot of people say they want to work in sports or media entertainment, and then they start doing it, and after about 2 years, they're out, right? They're out of the industry. And I think that if you truly want to do it, I think all this is great advice. I think you follow it. I think you work really hard. You differentiate yourself from everyone else. And then I think some of your competition is just going to leave. They're not going to want to work Sundays. They're not going to want to get up at 4 a.m. to be at a set. They're not going to want to work weekends and nights to put together event videos and deal with customer service issues for ticketing issues, right? They want to work 9 to 5. They want to sit on their couch and watch sports. They don't want to be dealing with, you know, the issues. And so I think if you truly want to be in the industry, I think you get any experience you can possibly get, and you work really, really hard. And I think you'll see that, if you truly want to do this and you are self-motivated, there'll be a lot of people who say they want to do it, and then they'll get out.
And one thing I just want to add on that's from what Chris said, is you also have to realize this is a business. And sometimes that actually people don't understand that. Like the music business, the sports business, it's fundamentally a business. So if you prefer to kind of keep your sports fit, the athletes or your music fans, a celebrity, at a distance, that can sometimes be a little difficult for some people too, and not really understanding why things happen the way they do. So that was just something that I noticed from other people that were just starting out in the industry, that they kind of got really, they start by attrition, people just start to kind of fall off because they don't want to hustle, or they get overwhelmed by it and it's not what they thought. But it's a great business.
Awesome. Thank you guys all for your answers on that one. Next up, Aaliyah.
So none for any student that wants to unmute themselves. But we do have a very quick question. So if each of you can just go around and just briefly give us like your day-to-day responsibilities for your job, that would be awesome. So whoever is ready to go and give that answer, you're more than welcome to.
I can hop in. I'd say day to day, I work with our existing partners to help them accomplish their business objectives, through that portion of the year or the season. And really we look at it as the off season, the preseason, and the regular season, and hopefully a postseason. And during the off season, it's a lot more preparation and planning. And as we get closer to the start of the season, it's execution, right? If you guys are fans of the NFL, you watch the draft, right? So draft is a time we're able to deliver a lot of value to partners. Then training camp, then preseason, then regular season games. So majority of my work is all with external partners. And, depending on the time of the year, we could have one team playing, two teams playing, no one playing. It could be week of Super Bowl. It could be June with nothing going on. So, really we're still working with partners. It's just the different phases of the year kind of dictate what part of the planning process we're in.
Awesome. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Okay.
So my day-to-day, usually, I'm not going to talk about game day because that's only like once or twice a week, but usually I'm planning towards a shoot. So I'm helping to coordinate the crew for that right now during this time, coordinating all their COVID testing, getting everything set up from booking the venue, getting any props we need, ordering food for the people that are going to be there, making sure everyone gets paid. I'm pulling video, calling teams, different NFL teams to get, drone footage of their stadiums, stuff like that. Just gathering as much footage as I can for the edits after the shoots. So for me, week to week, I'm usually planning towards doing a shoot, and then I'll have one day on set at that shoot, and I'll basically assist that producer or director in any way I can. And that's usually the majority of my days. And then again, on game days, I'm on set. And if you ever watch NFL Sunday, I'm the one standing over, well, I guess you don't see it, but it breaks to video and I'm this close to Kurt Menefee giving him his highlights in the order he needs them. So that's what I do on game days. I make sure talent has everything they need that's factual so they can read it on air.
My day-to-day changes every day. Sometimes I'm budgeting jobs. Sometimes I'm talking to clients about their creative needs and what we might be able to help them with. Sometimes I'm dealing with production issues, union issues. I work with, other executive producers and our CFO to see how the company's running. And I'm looking for new ways to solve problems for our existing clients and finding new clients to do video content marketing. And it's a balance between kind of creative development and strategy.
So, working for a startup, you wear a lot of different hats. So, every day it's different. But in terms of customer success, that's really about retention and ensuring that there's growth with the clients, finding new opportunities, new business opportunities with the clients to expand, and to basically really, get your hooks in them so they can't leave you, particularly with, software as a service type of platforms. It is about retention and recurring revenue every month. So it's just about optimizing the product, making sure the clients understand how to be efficient with the product, that they know how to use it, onboarding, and that sort of thing. So it's just every day, it's very different. And, making sure obviously when it is implemented that it's working perfectly. And if there are issues, then being able to escalate it appropriately, getting answers, and just, replying back to the client and making sure that they're happy. Customer success.
All right, I think that got around to everybody. Audience, we have about 7 minutes left and we do have a quick wrap up, but we do maybe have time for 1 or 2 responses if anyone has any last question they want to get in. If not, we'll carry right along. If you do.
I have a question.
Perfect. Thank you, Jack. Come on in.
Yeah, I know you've all already touched on networking and its importance, and I've kind of always been amazed with the opportunities that your network can provide. And I know most of your networks are probably very vast, but kind of just vaguely, what's kind of the most interesting networking story you have for your own professional career?
I remember connecting you with Chris at a UMass football game.
That did happen, yeah.
I think people think that you can fall into these networking opportunities. I think there's a lot of research that can be done leading into it that helps prepare you. If I have an opportunity to go somewhere and I get an attendee list or a panelist or whatever, I try and do as much research as possible, and I try and find 1 or 2 things that I may have in common with someone, UMass being the first thing I always look for. So if I ever go to a conference and I'm sitting and listening and I've done research and I know so-and-so is a UMass alum, I'll chase down that person. And I will literally be like, oh, hey, so-and-so, like I enjoyed what you had to say, with whatever. I want to introduce myself. Like I went to UMass as well. And usually all of their guards go down and the fences go away and they're like, oh, is Antonio still there? Or like, what did you major in? Or any of these things. And so I think people think that you just happen to bump into someone in an elevator and all of a sudden it's your next big business partner. I think you can create a lot of your own luck if you're organized. And I think if you do a little bit of research, I think it's a lot easier nowadays to find people on LinkedIn, to find out where they went to school, and to help use that. And I think that you can often find what people did before their current jobs. Hey, I saw that you used to be doing the local news and now you're at Fox or whatever. I saw you started your own production company 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Like, what was that like? I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur, right? Like, I think you can almost walk into some of these questions because you've done a little bit of research. So I think you can create as much luck as you fall into. And I think I encourage everyone to do that.
I think some good advice I recently got, because I have a few friends that just graduated their grad school program and are trying to network their way into getting jobs, is what can you offer the person that you're trying to take from, if that makes sense? So if you're trying to connect with someone, maybe send them an article that's related to what they're doing, something new that's going on. Say, hey, have you heard about this? Like, I had a thought about this, you know, just sending it out so they see your name, but that it's not always a take situation, that it's a little bit of a back and forth. So that's something that I've recently heard.
Yeah, I agree with that. For sure.
All right. Jack, did that answer your question?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you guys.
Awesome. All right, we're going to wrap up here. So just a couple of closing thoughts. First, as I kind of plugged before, but as I'll mention again, if you haven't signed up for Connect-UMass already, it is now open and live to students. That just happened a few weeks ago, so definitely the sooner you can get on and start utilizing that phenomenal resource, the better. Feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions on that. But basically, as I mentioned, it's like LinkedIn for UMass only. And it's a great resource to use to connect to alumni, to just have conversations or ask about jobs, kind of as Chris was mentioning. Feel free to do the research and ask them about their job or whatever you're interested in. The people that sign up are interested in talking to students. So definitely make use of that resource. As well as Handshake and different events you can find on the UMass Alumni website. This is our third of 5 SAA Wednesdays. On the 28th, we have one on strategic information and defense, and on November the 4th, we have one on healthcare. So definitely feel free to check those out. The previous ones were nonprofit management and policy and law, and those are going to be put on our YouTube channel. So feel free to go back and look at those as well if you're interested. And before we close out this event, we wanted to just go around to each panelist and ask for one sentence of last minute advice, or one summarizing sentence that you would like to tell to maybe your UMass senior self or something like along those lines. Take it away, whoever would like to go first.
All right.
So you can go first.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay.
Shannon, go ahead.
I would say when I applied for jobs, it took me 5 months to land a job on air in the industry. I probably got told no or just not responded to around 40 times. But I kept applying, and then I found a great job that I learned a lot from. So I would say don't give up or be negative about the job process when you get into that, because you are probably going to hear more no's than yeses. But it only takes that one yes to get your foot in the door.
Yeah, it's sort of building off of that. You know, I like to call it like the 4 H's. Like, just be honest, be humble, be hungry, and, you know, honestly, just hustle. Just hustle, and it'll happen.
I'm going to jump on that exact theme. It's part of the grit and the resilience that we got out of UMass, the experience at UMass, and I think the one thing to keep thinking about is enjoying the process, and that rejection just means there's another better opportunity around the corner.
I just add, you know, we work in an industry where there's passion and excitement around what we do and the companies we work for. But Rubina said this earlier, it's still a business, and none of you would walk into the front door of Old Navy and say, I want to work at Old Navy because I'm a huge fan, right? I often use my brother-in-law as an example. He works at TripAdvisor. He didn't apply for the job because he grew up with a TripAdvisor pennant on his wall at home, right? And so you should not apply for a job because you're a giant fan of that company or team. You should apply for that job because that's a great place for you to learn and work. And then that team operates as a business, or that company operates as a business, and you're going to learn something from that that's going to help you grow. So while we may be your favorite football team and we appreciate all of your support, we just may not be the right fit for you. And the job for you is to find an organization that you can contribute to, and one that you can learn from, and that's going to help you in your career.
Thank you. Thank you for all of that advice. I just want to reiterate, thank you very much, Shannon, Chris, Iran, and Rubina, for sharing your honest advice with all of us here tonight. Before we go, I just want to mention to all the attendees that their contact information will be emailed out to you. So if you have any further questions or anything like that, they have shared their link, some of them LinkedIn and some of them email, that you can reach out to them on if you so desire. This will be posted on our YouTube if you want to rewatch anything. Our socials are on the screen shared if you have any questions for us. And thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Have a great night.